If you always describe your weekend by saying I was happy or the food was good, the weather was nice, you aren't wrong, but it becomes really basic and boring over time. You end up sounding like a translation app and not a real human being. Today, we will be performing a total English makeover on this basic story that you're about to see. We are going to swap textbook English or translation English into a more natural and flowy conversation using 4 specific techniques that I'm about to show you. By the end, you will see the exact transformation from a level 1 student to a fluent speaker. Let's dive in. When someone asks you, how was your weekend? If you approach it from a very simple level in English. Last weekend, I went to a new restaurant with friends. The food was very good. The place was crowded. We had a good time. Then we walked to the park. It was a nice day and I was happy. As you can see, there's nothing grammatically wrong with those phrases, but it doesn't really have a striking emotion to it. It seems kind of bland. It doesn't really paint a vivid picture of how your weekend went. First off, I know it's really easy to rely on very all the time to express a greater level of feeling. It was very good. It was very interesting. It was very nice, and the list goes on. However, every now and then you should try to swap out very for these high impact adjectives, such as the food was incredible, the food was out of this world. Native English speakers do use very, but not so often as people think. It actually kind of feels more like a filler word. If you want to express emotions, you need to use words that actually carry emotions. I'm going to pop up more examples on the screen here so you can jot them down and reference them for later use. Next, you really want to set the scene right. Saying something like the place is crowded is a good start, but what will elevate it even more is by saying something like place was absolutely packed or the atmosphere was buzzing. This is a secret to sounding more fluent in English. Don't just tell me you were there and there was a lot of people. Tell me the actual vibe. And buzzing is the perfect word for it because it's a bit slang and modern and has a bit of a hip twist to it. You want to really illustrate the atmosphere that you were in and use detailed phrases that can make someone feel like they were actually there. Here are some examples for you to keep in mind that instantly describes the vibe of a room or a place that you were in. Now, this next rule is really important to incorporate into storytelling. You always need to add in connectors to make sure your sentences flow a lot more naturally. Instead of saying something like, then we walked to the park, it was nice, say something like, afterwards we decided to head to the park to soak up some sun because the weather was gorgeous. Do you see the difference immediately? Short and choppy sentences can make you sound like a beginner English speaker. Words like afterwards and since, they act like a glue that makes your English sound like one continuous thought rather than just a list of facts. And I'm going to show you here more examples to add to your toolkit. They are commonly used connectors that we use all the time in different conversations. Finally, the last technique I will recommend to you is to think of a more thoughtful way to wrap up your point of view. Rather than just simply saying something like, yes, I was happy, and yes, that was all. Yes, that made me happy. Try saying something like, it was the perfect way to cap off my weekend, or it was exactly the type of reset that I needed. Fluent speakers rarely say, yeah, I was happy at the end of a story. We talk more about the experience and how it really fits into our life. And capping off is a perfect idiom to use because it shows a high level of fluency. So now that we've gone through all the techniques, here's what the transformation would look like if we implemented them. Last weekend, I hit up a new restaurant with friends. The food was absolutely out of this world. And even though the place was totally buzzing, we managed to get a table. Afterwards, we headed to the park to soak up the sun because the weather was so gorgeous outside. Honestly, it was the perfect way to cap off the weekend. As you can see, it sounds way more expressive and natural with detailed descriptions to really illustrate your weekend. I understand as a beginner English speaker, it's really convenient to stick to basic and simple phrases, but if you try adjusting certain things, it will gradually transform your English tremendously. And if you stuck around to the end of this video, I have a free guide with over 50 powerful vocabulary upgrades to instantly take your English from basic to advanced. You can directly download this, the link in my description. And before we wrap up this video, make sure to leave me a comment telling me one thing that you did today, but make sure to use one of the techniques that you learned in this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more English transformation videos like this.